Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. We continue on with our derivation. It is what it is, identity is what identity is, sensorality identifies what sensorality is. So to stabilize this definition, we are looking to effectively just show identity. Sensorality is sensorality with some sort of completion of this syllability. So just continuing on, what is the forefront of my mind from this morning's video is spheres are special. Sphericality is speciality, pretty much directly, literally. It's a direct iteration. Spherical is special. Directly, and there's a little more consonants. I don't have it written down directly, but like the H is not in there, and the R, I think, is the only thing different between special and spherical. And so, previously, or in one of the recent episodes, we talked about the spherical limit, just how objects act as point spheres at distances. But I think pretty much effectively that it doesn't, like even at like room distances, my notebook doesn't look like a sphere, certainly. I don't look like a sphere, my lamp doesn't look like a sphere. But still, like if you take a bar magnet, even at, if it's just room scale, just regular sizes, right, the magnetic fields still form, right, a spherical, which is really oblong, it's really an oval, it has some sort of non-zero eccentricity, but we have this conceptualization, the perfection of an oval being a sphere, or being a regular geometric shape. And so, right, even if you have a bar magnet, even if it's clearly a rectangle, the field it generates is still approaching the limit of a sphere. And so I wanted to point that out. Like I said, it doesn't matter if my lamp, its gravitational field is not affecting me. But like even it doesn't matter if it's like a rectangle or if it's a cylinder, the overall field it generates is still approaching a sphere, even at these distances, room lengths, room heights. And so moving along, spelling is special. Natural definition, direct iteration, and now connecting athleticality to mathematicality. What is mathematicality to mathleticality? Right? What is theme to athlete? But emphasizing that mathematicality and mathleticality, right? Literally putting athlete, putting an M in front of athletic, mathletic, but right, the structure of the word math, M-A-T-H, right? Athleticality is the theme of math. That A-T-H in math is the same A-T-H that is in athletic. That is a natural definition, direct iteration. Sensorality is mathletic. What is sensorality to university? Again, these are directly pulled from when I'm editing the previous videos, I can feel like the logical, I don't want to say holes, but like where there's theorems to derive or where there's stuff to fill in. So this is pulled directly from the previous episode. All of them pretty much are. I mean, this is one big chronological derivation. It's one reduction of syllability. So what is sensorality to university? Again, another word based on verse. Universal, university. What is definition to identification? Another one of these dichotomistic pairs, two words where I'm just juxtaposing the conceptualization and the syllability. Energy is generosity. We iterate, we change the order, but it contains generosity, contains all of the letters of energy. And conceptually, it's building, right? Good energy is generous. And so identification is another one of these words where it feels immediately it's some sort of iteration of definition. What is sensation to identification? What does sensation identify? And again, emphasizing identity, right? Denter is this direct iteration of sensorality. When we started off with, right, identity is what identity is, sensorality identifies what sensorality is. That's just a direct iteration of the same syllability. What is a curse to a cursor? Emphasizing the word forms, curse, cursive. Is cursive recursive? Is reversal recursive? Another one of these words that we've now naturally come across, recursive. I've heard it a bunch in math class. Not sure if you guys are using it right or not, but is reversal recursive? What is in between to inversion? Spelling is ordering. Ordering is ordinal. Therefore, the most general thing we can say about linguistics, the fundamental theorem of linguistics, spelling is ordinal. Spelling is ordinary. Normality is ordinary. Verse is severe, natural definition, direct iteration. So here's a fun one, right? Responsibility is liability. And we just kind of create an amalgamation. Responsibility is the ability to respond with a lie. Kind of sounds like, it seems like a goofy step, but it's conceptually consistent, and we introduce more letters, and that is a natural definition. Sensorality responds to lies. Sensorality is how to respond to a lie. Again, just building out our definition, arriving at a linguistic form that we can derive, stabilize sensorality, produce our next word form. Cursor, curious. Sensorality is curiosity. Sensorality is curiosity, viscosity. That is, sensorality resists learning. Cognitive dissonance resists learning. What is dissonance to thinking? And I don't even mean this like psychologically, I mean this directly physically. When you're thinking, right, are you trying to synchronize some amount of dissonance? You have some information that physically is not resonating with you, therefore it's dissonance, so you have to think it through. Right? I think thinking is dissonance, like limiting dissonance. What is thinking to learning? Is speciality cursory? So that's another one. I actually looked up the semantic meaning of cursory. Again, we came across the direct word form, which does happen directly in English. And so it was like cursory, I wanted to say, was like in a hurry, like frantically getting something done or whatever. Worth pointing out, I literally derive word forms in English that I don't exactly know the semantic meaning of. Is speciality cursory? Geometry is how spelling functions. Geometry is algorithmic, emphasizing the G. What is locality to symmetry? Again, building on this spherical thing, again, or is locality spherical? Again, as we led off in the beginning, to me, the fields presented by even irregular objects at close scales, where you would think the irregularity would matter, still produces effective spherical fields. So what is the symmetry of locality? Or just in general, what is locality to symmetry? Spherical symmetry. Is spherical special? Spherical is special. Natural definition, direct iteration. And so now, though, conceptually, remember, chronologically, we axiomatize speciality, the natural tendency to differentiate for sexual antagonism in its full emotional, fully articulated axiomatic definition. But once we stabilize that, sensorality was, again, this process of completing analysis, and the remainder was the word form, which gives us the next derivation, what we derive through. And so speciality is the base conceptually and linguistically, and now speciality is sphericality, holistically, conceptually, and linguistically contained within that word. So now speciality is exclusively sphericality. Well, again, to stabilize the definition of sensorality. The axiomatized definition of speciality will never change. You would literally have to like restart all of logic, which is not really possible. But the base of sensorality is speciality. The base of sensorality is sphericality. That is a direct iteration. What is spherical to radial? Right? Spherical symmetry, radiality, right? Radiation radiates radially. Geometrically, what is spherical to radial? Spherical is essential. And so we can restate the fundamental theorem of geometry. Sensorality is a spherical, Sensorality is a spherical domain. A dome is a fraction of a sphere. So again, when we say our topology, all of our surface is rough. Sorry, something stuck in my throat. But right, a dome is a hemisphere, right? If you cut a sphere in half, but if you take any section, any cut of a sphere, you get a dome. A dome is a fraction of a sphere. Dome, domain. Is a surface a perimeter? Is a surface a boundary? What is area to surface? Is a dome a roof? Is a roof a ceiling? Is a ceiling a seal? What is bouncing to pouncing? What is bouncing to elasticity? What is elasticality to electricality? Is electricity elastic? Right, electricity is moving electrons. Elasticality is vibration. Vibration doesn't move. Vibration doesn't produce viscosity. Vibration is not movement. It is a cycle that does not do work. And then the structure of the word forms is kind of looking like a inverse, right? Elasticality, electricality, the E and the A, the R and the S, again, one chronological element moving up. But electricity, moving electrons, elasticality, like stretchability, deformability, returning to its original form, position, not movement. Some relationship of elasticality and electricality, elasticity, electricity is interesting. Is electricity elastic? Is elasticity electric? Sensorality is mentor mentality. Is sense mental? What is sense to mentality? What is shape to change? Emphasizing the geometry of the P and the G. Again, are all closed shapes circles or spherical? Or, again, is there any way to have closure that isn't, again, in some sort of elongated sphere, some sort of sphere with non-zero eccentricity? Does shape change? Again, getting back to the opening question of the last episode, right? We're calling these shapes, these things that letters, what we call letters, right? But if a letter is a shape, does it have to have closure? Then you have L and S and these letters that don't, what we would call letters, not having closure, right? Is there some sort of dichotomy there or false identification? Moving along. Does shape change? Does slope shape? What is slope to top? A top is a peak. What is top to bottom? Again, emphasizing inversion in the geometry of top and bot. Again, the B and the P are some sort of, again, direct. Again, can you rotate P and get B at all? No, I think you have to flip it, but you can rotate and flip it. Again, one of the clear ones that it's like the same exact shape, just iterated. So as top and bottom, some sort of inversion. Again, arriving at some sort of generalized demonstration of all of language, uniquely. Moving along, is range spherical? Is resonance spherical? Again, when you look at like the profile of like a thermal scope or a thermal camera, and you can see like the discrete, again, like surrounding glow almost of whatever you're looking at. Is range spherical? Is resonance spherical? Is information thermal? What is thermality to vernality? That is, what is temperature to life? Slang is informal information. Is form closed? Is form firm? Are spheres periodical? Is rhythm methodical? What is a method to a melody? Rhythmic is melodical. Melodical is medical, direct iteration. Sensorality is melodicality, natural definition, direct iteration. What is melody to cadence? What is cadence to coincidence? Is coincidence an incident? Is serendipity a coincidence? And so, again, just working through our overall analytical process, arriving at a unique differentiation already present in language, proving that by reducing identity in linguistics. Sensorality is what sensorality is. Sensorality identifies sensorality. We are conceptually progressing to completion, where we can just show some other word form out there that everybody knows that is well defined is sensorality, and it just finalizes our definition and produces our new word form. My rights continue to be violated. It is profoundly and extensively illegal. I continue to beg for a little bit of money to eat properly, to sleep properly, and to work. To the people out there doing this to me, you are fucking disgusting. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.